Hello, artist. Welcome. Are you a beginner artist struggling to create a compelling art CV for gallery submissions? Don't worry, in this video, we're going to talk about some of the things that I have learned in over 8 years to help you understand what is an art CV with an emphasis on how to apply for a gallery submission. This video is part of a gallery submission series that I'm creating, and that is called the 12 Steps to Exhibiting Your Work in Galleries as a Beginner Artist. And I have already made a video previously to this, so if you're starting out, I highly encourage you to start from the very beginning, where I give you all an overview about how I have been creating my path to exhibiting in galleries. And before this particular video on how to build your CV as a beginner artist, you can go back to a previous video called Understanding Art Calls. And once we finish this video, you can also go to the next video called Having a Body of Work. But without further ado, let's jump in. So what is an art CV? An art CV essentially is a resume. It is a list of all the things you have made or produced and participated in a nutshell as an artist. So essentially is all the work that you have made as an artist. When you started, it has education, pointers, it has a lot of things that are important to let galleries know what experience you have. So the closest thing that I can think about as an art CV is when you're applying to most jobs, most of them will require a CV, right, or a resume. And usually when you apply to a job, they will ask, what is your name? What is your level of education? When did you graduate? What kind of jobs have you done? What kinds of things have you produced for other employers? And I want to bring in some of that understanding. You don't have to have understanding about how to do a job CV if you are just starting out or if you are learning about this, but I think it's helpful for us to situate ourselves in terms of what we may already know. They're not that different from when applying to a job. They're similar, but they also have some distinct features that we will be talking about in here in the next couple of minutes or the next hour. Let's jump into number 2, the essential components of an artist CV. So this one is important, and it's essentially a list of all the things that the list will require. The first one will be personal information. What is your name? Where did you go to school? What is your phone number? Any social media links that they will ask you about. Normally, I have submitted social media links or usually have made my website link at the top as well as my phone number. So this is essentially a quick introduction or a snapshot of who you are as an artist. It helps to have that information there. The next part would be exhibitions. Exhibitions, essentially all the things that you have participated in. You can divide this into different kinds of exhibitions. As we talked in the previous video, you can talk about solo exhibitions, which again is when you create or participate in an exhibition by yourself, meaning that all the work that you are doing or creating is yours. And the second kind of exhibition could be a collective or group exhibition where you exhibit with other artists. Usually in the exhibitions, I like to say the name of the location, meaning who was the gallery or what was the gallery name, as well as the title of the exhibition, and then the year. And the year is super important. I will talk about the year right now. I like to put everything that is most up to date or the closest to the time that we are close to at the top. So essentially, whatever is closest to you, put that at the top. Exhibitions are important. Again, we are trying to increase our chances to exhibit in galleries. So we want to put that experience there. And the next part and what has our CV or what is or goes into our CV would be grants, awards, and honors. So a grant essentially is money that you have received to produce something. A grant is not a loan. A grant is money that someone, usually a funder, gives an artist. So this is where you can put in the grant money that you have received. I usually like to write the name of the funder, the name of the grant program, and sometimes I like to put the amount of funding that I received as well as the year. It just goes to show that you are able to participate or have participated in programs that have received grants. Now, I have only put grants when I have worked in individual self-projects. I don't put grants where someone else has hired me or commissioned me to do something, but we can talk about that later. Let me know if you all want to learn more about grants and what grants are. I also do fundraising and I do consulting as well on how to help people find money for grants and grant writing. So that's another thing that we can go into. That could be another whole series. So the grant, put the number or the name of the grant, the exhibition, and the contact information. Continuing with the grants, what I like to put here are awards. So anything that you have received from anyone that has recognized you. Have you received a beginner artist award? Usually anything along the lines of participating in some project that you were giving a diploma or anything of recognition. I like to put the awards there. And lastly would be honors or fellowships, for example. I have participated in fellowships or internships or things that have given me experience, so I like to put them there. I am a recipient of an international fellowship that I received in 2019, 2020, and I place that there to signal again that distinction. So again, grants, awards, and honors, input anything that you have, no matter how small. I think that's what's important, that you begin to create this list as you go on and move on. Another point would be to include in this CV would be education and training. What is your formal education, whether it's in art or not in art? Remember, we are writing this from my experience as an artist who did not go to art school. And I'm telling you this from my experience. You can write it however you want using your experience. And the beauty about this is that I have felt a little weird about putting or applying to galleries without an art degree, but that's okay. I was still able to put my formal education. So usually what I put there is the name of the school, the graduating year, and then the major or the program that I attended. If you have a master's, you have a bachelor's, I would put those in and essentially tell people what your education is. I have also created some workshops or classes, a programming for the education and training. Whether you've been in a formal program that has helped you reach a new level of work as an artist, I think it's important to include it as well. Maybe your city has had a training program for artists, or maybe a local arts council has created a training program. I think that those can also count for your experience as an artist. I haven't seen as much information around putting other classes or workshops by other people, like other artists, but I think it could be a possibility. What the CV is really trying to do is show people that you have the experience to make that particular project. Another part of the CV experience is any other professional experience that you have. For example, a relevant work. If you are an artist and also have had teaching classes anywhere that you have taught, that could be another possibility. Have you ever participated in a workshop for community members or students or children or families, anything like that? That could be another possibility of highlighting. Or another thing, which I have not done, but maybe this is where you want to go, is if you have participated in a gallery curation or have curated a show. So that could be another thing. Maybe you convene many artists and talked to them and invited them to be part of your exhibition and created all the programming, including the launch and everything else around that. So that would be the curating part that you can include. Other things that I recommend are collaboration on art projects. And I talked about this in the first video. If you don't have a lot of experience as an artist participating in projects, you can also think about where you want to include things that you have worked on. So even if you're just starting out and you're thinking, oh my goodness, or oh my gosh, I don't have a lot of experience, that's okay. I think the beauty of the CV is that you can put in some experience. When I was starting out, I started in 2016, and in about 2018, my CV was essentially very small, very limited. I remember that I reached out to an artist doing a mural in my community, and out of the blue, I said, hey, are you looking for someone to help you out? Not expecting an invitation. I was just opening up an invitation for him to let me know if I could go. And this person said, yes, of course, come on over. And I was able to help out with his mural and participate. And I was able to use that experience as not a workshop, but as an experience of where I participated. So this was a collaborative project between many organizations. And as an artist, I participated and was able to gain some experience. This experience was not paid. I did not intend it to be paid, and it was completely volunteer. That could be another thing. If you're looking to build your experience, find other opportunities that are available where you live, maybe that are volunteer, especially as you're starting out. But I'll leave that to your discretion, whether you want to do this paid or unpaid. So another thing that I did start doing, or other things that I include in my CV right now, is publications and media. Anytime that a newspaper has reached out to me, or I have done an interview for someone, for a gallery, for another project, or there has been a news release or press release about my work, I like to include them using links in my CV so that people know that this is the work that I'm creating, and it's been really helpful. I'm not going to say that I started giving interviews and talking to people, the media especially. I think it's been more in the later years as an artist, more in the last 4 years, as opposed to 8 years. And I'm not going to lie, this has been a learning curve on how to include these things in my CV, and also learning to talk with the media, which could be another whole different video. But I think the beauty of it is that you can also continue to document where people have reached out to you in the past. So anytime that you give an interview, speak publicly, maybe you have participated in a panel, that can be something that you can share. That comes with more experience, the more you begin to talk about your previous work. More and more people will reach out to you. 2 more that I have on the CV, could be more things, honestly, would be collections. Collections is whether your work is part of a collection, permanent or private, that you can start writing. So this could be anytime you sell a painting that someone reaches out to you and you sell it to them, you can include that this was a private gallery or public space or anything like that. And then close off on this point on what to include in the CV. The next part will be if you're a public art artist. What you can include here are any murals or public art projects that you have participated in or created. So the murals that I have already made in the past, I put them in there. I put the name of the location, the company, and so forth. This is just the surface of how we can begin to craft our CV, and I could give you more things. Let me know what other things you want me to talk about in the CV as you start to create your document. And I think that also as someone who engages in illustration, there are other ways to include illustrating or illustration projects. I'm not talking about any other kind of art because I don't have the experience. I'm only talking as a visual artist. But I have included and tailored CV, especially when applying to galleries and grants. If it's a specific medium, for example, if it's a mural or if it's a illustration, I usually put only that information there as well. Let me know what questions you have about what to include in your CV, and we can talk further down the line and in future comments and questions. Let's talk about point number 3, tailoring your CV to the gallery. Again, tailoring could be a whole different thing. Some advice I have and advice that I've been using is I have a general CV where I put every single thing that I have, regardless if it's public art, if it's volunteer work, if it's illustration, if it's commissions, or whether I have done illustrations for a publication. I put everything in. If there is an application, for example, a multimedia project like the one that I was able to produce with other people in 2024, when I applied to that project, I mostly highlighted my multimedia projects that I have done. So I put in that information there on that application. And this was not an application for a gallery, it was mostly for a grant. That's the first part. Having a document with general information, everything that I just included and more. And also, the second one would be to tailor and to essentially focus on a couple of things, and the rest just remove them so that the funder or the gallery owner can look and read at your CV. That would be point number 3. Point number 4. So you're probably thinking, Antonio, all this sounds nice. All this sounds amazing. I'm excited to get started. But you may be thinking, how do I build a CV with limited experience? Don't worry. I used to think about that the same. And it's something that all of us have to start somewhere. As I alluded to a minute ago, when I reached out to the gallery, rather the muralist who was doing a mural in my community, one thing that I started doing was reaching out to do volunteer work. I was not expecting to be paid, and this could be another video about getting paid as an artist. The thing about me was when I was starting out, I just wanted experience. I wanted to learn and be exposed to this work without much in return. But that much in return was very much in terms of knowledge and the experience and understanding of how to carry out a project. The one thing that I would say would be volunteer. So look into volunteer opportunities that maybe are available for you in your community where you live, doing these kinds of things. One thing that I have observed are galleries sometimes have volunteer opportunities. If you are interested in the exhibition, they may need people to help out during some things when they are setting up. So reach out to them. Maybe say, hey, are you looking for volunteers? Sometimes, again, I'm not speaking for any gallery because I do not represent a gallery. I have seen that galleries have put calls to volunteer and help set up things, such as pieces and other things like that. I leave it to their discretion. If they want to invite someone and you are starting out, they must have protocol to place pieces. And maybe you can help out with other things, more administrative things. I'm not speaking for galleries, but there are some opportunities that I have seen. Maybe there are some nonprofit galleries around. They're looking for extra help over the summer. Maybe some database cleaning. Maybe preparing for the year, maybe some office work, maybe some background, things like that. Or maybe your city has a program for artists that, again, is a professional development project for artists. These are all good things to start exhibiting. Or also maybe you can also reach out to other galleries or galleries that you are interested in applying to in the future and maybe invite, or rather ask if you can go, or usually you can because most of these openings are public, but make sure that they are public, and you can go and begin to network. We talked a lot about networking in the previous video, and the beauty about participating in any gallery is that just make sure that you keep learning and that you keep building on the experience. There is no one way to follow or build your experience as an artist and exhibiting in galleries. I think that the beauty of this is to continue to be curious. The thing is to continue to be okay with uncertainty and just embrace this experience of participating here. Maybe there are other artists in your community who may be happy to talk to you about what they recommend on how to start building some experience. This is a few things that I would recommend to start building experience as a beginner artist, and there are other things that I can talk about as well. Number 5, this one is formatting the presentation. How do you make a CV? The CV is I've seen this many times, y'all, and I don't have a real answer. I do have an answer on my opinion, as an opinion. I have seen many CVs professionally in professional spaces with different formats. I've seen people with colorful, very graphically designed resumes, and I've seen others that are plain black and white without any other decoration. And my thing would be do whatever feels best to you. I think that art is the beautiful place for us to express ourselves. And I think that comes down to also how galleries like to receive CVs. Look into what other artists they have already exhibited and maybe get a glimpse of some of their CVs. I've seen CVs with people's pictures on them. I've seen the headshots in the CV and following the branding. I thought they were awesome. But I normally stay away from using all these colors and pictures. Unless like a portfolio, right, would be something else. The formatting a presentation, you can do it. There are tons of templates online. Look at other people's CVs. And also, if you're interested in looking at my CV, you can go to AntonioAlanisArt.com and you will see a portion of my CV where you can see all the experience that I have as an artist since starting out. So that would be one thing that you can look into. I'm not going to talk a lot about what people may consider as professional. Usually when we apply to jobs that are outside of the art world, I see people being very rigid in terms of, hey, you need to use a specific font. You need to use a specific font size. You have to use specific color. You have to use specific everything, right? Look into what people are doing in your community. What are people creating? And that can give you an example of what to do. There are many ways of creating and formatting a CV. Number 6, digital versus physical CVs. The time of this video is 2024. I have never submitted a physical CV anywhere, and I think it was pre-2015 that most people used to submit things in physical form. I have always submitted things digitally. So if you're wondering how do we submit CVs, usually galleries do require digital CVs. Anything like that would be always helpful. Have it easily accessible. We can talk about how to organize our CVs and where we have our CVs, whether it's an online platform or not an online platform or your computer. There are so many ways of keeping it and making sure that we know where it is. Most of the times, this would be a digital CV. Let's talk about the next point. This would be updating your CV. Everyone, I know that being an artist is a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. You're doing so many things at once, and everyone wants a little bit of you, and there's so many things happening. I try to keep and update my CV at least once a year. However, there is a danger in updating something once a year. I forget that things are happening or things that I was able to participate in, and I don't include them, and I end up not putting them on my CV. I like to be very thorough in my work and make sure that I have a CV that is representative of all the work that I've been able to do. And I found that if I update things once a year, I usually will forget some projects and maybe some links of interviews that I did. I like to be thorough and want to make sure that I keep those. On the ideal world, ideally, I think I would encourage people to update their CVs once every 3 months and think about how you will be able to update it. There's a whole system that I use in terms of not losing the CV opportunities that I've been able to create, because I've been able to keep them in a format, and every time there's something new happening that I need to put in my CV, let's say there's a new workshop, a new publication, a new commission, a new public art piece, or anything like that, I like to put that so that I already have a list, so that by the end of the year I can go back and update it. Update your CV at least every few months, and just keep doing it. The more you do it, the more it will grow. Of course, the more work you do, you can do this. Number 8, common mistakes to avoid when making a CV. As I said, I'm not going to talk about the aesthetics or the visuals of the CV. That's up to you. That can shine a lot of your personality. I don't think I've seen many mistakes in other people's CVs or what considers to be professional or not professional CV presentation. We can leave that to discretion of your art and your personality and the gallery, what they were looking for. But some things that I do want to recommend and avoid doing is having typos and other things that may distract people from what you are presenting. So make sure that you proofread, make sure that you read over and over, make sure that you pass the CV through an online grammar check software to avoid any mistakes and typos or maybe other things that people recommend, like passive voice and turning passive voice to active voice. And again, there's always the beauty of it that you may be part of a community that you are reaching out or can reach out to mentors or peers. And you can reach out to them and say, hey, I'm really interested in you reading this CV and letting me know if what I wrote is okay and any other mistakes that maybe you have seen. So reach out to people and they may be able to help you out. I'm not speaking for your community, but sometimes some people may be happy to look at your work. Point number 9 would be seeking feedback. As a beginner artist, when I was starting in the beginning, I really did not want to reach out to many people because anytime that I show people back then, I feel vulnerable. I felt that I wasn't doing or had amazing things to show. We talked about imposter syndrome and how I overcame that. When you reach out to people for feedback, reach out to people who are doing more things and who have more experience. Pick people that can give you constructive criticism. The beauty of the community that I've been able to build is people have been very kind, have been very helpful. I have avoided places that have been toxic or places where they have been trying to destroy me and my work, and I've been able to make a group of artists who are supportive. Find a group of people who are likely to support your work and can give you kind and firm criticism without, of course, tearing you down. Because we know the art world can be toxic. Point number 10 is using your CV as a marketing tool. I think that what I like to use every time, not only is it a list of the things you've been able to create, but also it's a summary of things that you've been able to do the past years. Every year, what I do is make a list of things for people and tell them, hey, I was able to create this much work this year. So think about a year in review. A year in review, you know how some organizations, nonprofits or for-profits, make a list of all the things that I've been able to do throughout the year, like a annual report. You can, once you finish your CV, updating it, you can say, listen, these are the 3 galleries that I was able to participate in this year. These are the 3 commissions that I did for clients. These are the 5 workshops that I gave for students. And these are the things that I was able to create this year. Maybe include some interviews that you gave to the media or other projects that you developed. And again, it talks about your experience as an artist, and it's a marketing tool so people know what you are doing. We can talk about artists and marketing, the importance about letting people know that you exist and that the work you are doing is happening. So let me know if you want to talk more about artists and marketing, how I get my name out there and how people reach out to me after I do marketing in my craft, in my life as an artist. That is the end of the video. I want to give you all a brief recap and encourage you all to start building your CV. It's not something you have to sit down and make from the very beginning. It's something you can start building as you develop more experience. The first thing would be to define what the art CV is, as well as divide the CV into essential components. What is the CV and what are the things that usually the CV has? And also considering tailoring the CV to the gallery, how to build your CV with limited experience, and formatting and presentation, whether you may or may not need to send a physical copy and sending most often digital copies or digital CVs, and updating your CV and how to update it and some mistakes to avoid and how to seek feedback. We have concluded the video. However, I do want to encourage you all to watch the previous video to this, and that would be understanding an art call. So what is an art call? As well as stay tuned for the next video that I'm going to be producing in the series on having a body of work. Also, if you are just thinking out, what am I doing? I don't know how to start. I have developed a checklist for everyone to consider. If you're looking to have a checklist, you can go on to my website, and I created a quick checklist called the 12 Steps to Exhibiting Your Work in Galleries as a Beginner Artist, where you can read it, and it will be an introduction to how to help you start thinking about applying. And I'm thinking about continuing to develop more videos in the series, and I think that having some checkboxes and some workbook questions to help you apply this information will be helpful for anyone starting out. You're more than invited to go to my website at antonioalanisart.com/store, where you can see this checklist. And also, while you're there, I have other types of things. Not only this checklist, I will be making other ebooks and other things like that. But if you're interested in supporting and reading more about me, you can check out my artist statement, my artist bio, and example of my CV, as well as look into my store and see other things that I have there for people, for prints and other things like that, maybe some shirts. So again, thank you all for being here. I look forward to seeing you all next time. Have a good day.